Hi, I'm Carolyn Moore with the Modern Widows Club, and this is our advocacy webinar / meeting, because we started out as a webinar and now we're trying to move into the areas where we can actually start building some traction. And so one of the things that we asked everyone on this call was to sign up for a team. And you had a choice to sign up for either team research, a team resolution, or team activate. And the reason why we broke it down that way is because we're going to show you what we mean when we say team research. Because the first thing we have to do is, the goal of team research really is to compile a comprehensive list of everyone in the judicial government branch, because we have to know who these people are. So when we go and we create what the resolutions are going to be. And
are you talking federal or state? Are you talking all federal, all state?
Both.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen here real quick with you. Let's see where. Please don't tell me I lost it already. There it is. But I'm going to show you what we've compiled so far. And my right-hand person that is working with me, her name is Pamela Millard. She is, she's actually on what we call Team Carolyn. So there's a very select few people that actually work with me and help me with some of the initiatives. Advocacy is the smallest portion of what I do at Modern Widows Club. It's the least amount of time that I can spend. So I have to bring on volunteers to actually help in that area. But Pamela couldn't be on this call tonight because she had a family emergency and had to fly to Florida. She lives in Indianapolis. And so she was going to come on and just introduce herself. And Pamela is going to be the person that's going to communicate with everyone that's on these teams and along with me. So we'll have meetings, and then Pamela will be the actual person, and her email is development@modernwidowsclub.org. Correct, Gina?
Correct.
Yay. And so, but she's going to be my liaison, and she's basically going to take each one of these teams and add people to them if we need to, but she's actually going to be the person that's going to run these teams. And so what I do is I have meetings with her on what the goals are and kind of what the deadlines are and what we need to have done. And then she's going to communicate with all of you to kind of keep the ball rolling and keep the traction going. Because our goal is really at the end of the year to, when we have a new administration, we want to have a plan of exactly who we're going to approach about presenting new resolutions and some policy changes in the U.S. government. And so the first thing, I'm sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I'm new, so I'm asking questions, so I apologize. But is there somewhere we can see what these resolutions that we're going to be working on?
We haven't created them yet. We're not that.
Oh, we're in the process of creating them now?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are a partner with an organization called Global Fund for Widows. And you guys got to meet Heather on the first webinar that we did. And Heather has given us her international resolutions. We, meaning whoever's on the resolution team and me and Gina, have a really kind of comprehensive list. And I've actually added more to my list just recently. And when we talk about and let me start with research first, and then I'll go into team resolution and talk about what we've done at that point, and then team activate, because I want to get everybody up to speed. But we haven't, Kimberly, we haven't created it. We had the webinar, we explained what widow advocacy was, and then we asked for people who really actually, because real advocacy takes real people who take the time that they have and they invest in it. And our job here is to help guide you into what we need. And it's sort of, it's a kind of slow process, because you have to do one thing, then it leads to the next thing. And we do have a very good idea of how we're going to be ready to present something next year, because that's kind of the goal here, is at the end of this year, we know exactly who we're going to go to, exactly what we're going to ask for, and we're going to show them the people who have signed petitions that want to. So you have to show all of that, and there's a lot of back work before you get to the point where anyone will listen to you. And since there's really no one else doing widow advocacy on this level, we're it when it comes to this. So we'll grow in the amount of people. It's just that people have to have the bandwidth to be able to do advocacy. But Modern Widows Club wants to be the leader in that area, and we have influence in that area. And so we're willing to use that to kind of move in that direction and use our reputation. So I'm going to show you the government. So this is the government. We're calling it the government 2020. And you guys can see this on the screen now. So this is what research looks like. We've got all the states, all the names of the senators, their website, their address, their phone number, an additional address because they might have an office in DC and they might have one locally. Phone number, when their term is over, and then if they're widowed, we're adding that into here. So this is kind of what it looks like. And then we're down here on the bottom, we have federal reps. As you can see, we only have one. All of these cells have to be completed. So we actually literally need to know who all the federal.
You mean representatives?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Senate and representatives. Okay.
Yeah, so we've got federal U.S. reps and state U.S. reps. Okay.
Okay.
As you can see, we've done nothing with the state U.S. reps. And then we have governors. And as you can see, we have done nothing with governors. All of this has to be completed. So this is what team research is going to be working on. We have inquired to see if there's a list like this somewhere. And unfortunately, there isn't.
Oh.
Because that would just be too easy.
Yeah.
And so these are constantly changing also. And so team research is going to be in charge of not only compiling this list, and I'll go back to the senator so you can see, but you can see how we've actually already started, and you can see how much work it would actually be. Mm-hmm. So this is what team research is going to do. We have to have this whole document built out. So then when the team resolution is, we're going to start working on what are the things that we want to ask for. And I can just tell you what some of those are. Gina and I talk about these all the time. We have a running list. Evidently, basically like bereavement leave. We want bereavement leave to be longer than 3 days. We've already talked to the Administration on Children and Families, and we have someone kind of working in our favor in that area. Let me make sure that, I think Victor said he can't get in, and I can't tell. Let me see what Victor. Can you let me enter? Oh my gosh, how am I supposed to get him in?
If you click on participants, it should be at the top where it says admit.
That's the problem. All I can see. Let me stop my share. There it is. Thank you. Barbara Jones. Who else needs to come in? Let me see, try again. I don't see you. I don't see you. Victor does a lot of research for us, so I want him to be on this call. Let's see. Okay, try again. Okay, so let's see, he's going to come through. Let's see. Okay.
So how many people do you have on your research team?
One.
Besides Victor. Is Victor it?
Might be.
Okay. Because this is what this is my wheelhouse. So.
Okay. Okay, Victor's in now. Good. So you like doing this kind of stuff, Kimberly?
Oh, you betcha.
Okay, great. So, so what we'll do is, Kimberly, have you, so you didn't get the email to sign up for a list, is that correct?
I don't know if I did or not, but I may not have known what the lists were, so I wasn't sure which one to sign up for. But I'm interested in research, and then, as you talk about the other ones, I might, join those too.
Okay.
I'm
So-
not working, I'm retired, so.
Okay, great. So that's great to know. I'm gonna make, let's see where your last name is. Kimberly, what's your, hold on a second. This is so weird when you're showing a document. Let me stop sharing. Hey, Victor. So that's great to know, Kimberly.
Yeah, it might be under
We'll get you the list. Because you're on this call tomorrow, we will send out an email with those links to be able to sign up. So if you'll go
Okay.
ahead and sign up for team research, that would be great, because then we'll have your email name, and then that's what Pamela is going to do. She's going to start communicating, and she's going to share. Okay, so in order to volunteer at Modern Widows Club, you have to sign a confidentiality contract. So you'll have to go through that process first. Because you're working within the organization at that point. And so it'll go to Gina first, and Gina will make sure a confidentiality contract gets signed. And then once that's signed, then we can start sharing documents with you, and Pamela will start working with you. And so is anybody else here signed up for the team research? Because I didn't see the list.
I did. Melissa Slater.
Okay, great. So you've been listening this whole time, right?
Right. But I don't know where the confidentiality form is. I'm not sure.
Okay, so we're going to be sending those out next. So we wanted to wait to see who signed up for which,
All right.
and then we're going to send out the confidentiality contracts, and also we're kind of still in the process of trying to get people to sign up for different things, because it's like we went from this webinar with a lot of people, and then we're like, okay, but who really wants to get to work?
And then everybody disappears.
I know, everybody's like, bye.
Exactly.
And for all three. So
So, but that's just the nature of things, but it's okay. Once we start like making progress, we'll have people like waiting in line to be on this advocacy team. But really, team research, it's pretty simple. Build out that document. Go find those names. We want to know who's widowed. We're obviously going to go to anyone who's female and male. We're bipartisan, so we don't care what party you are. We just want widows' policies to be changed so there's more advantage for them.
Yes.
But I can tell you,
I've done research before, so I know about lists.
okay, great. And you guys are going to love meeting Pam, because Pam went to law school, and her husband was was a high-profile attorney in Indianapolis. And she's amazing. She's very organized. She's been on campaigns she's been on political campaigns. And so she really kind of understands this world. And I'm sorry she couldn't be on this call, because she's going to be extremely valuable in this process. Hey, Victor, what is up with the beard?
What beard?
I didn't even recognize you. This means I have not seen you in person in too long.
Very long.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's looking good, man.
You'll see it one day.
You scared me though, because you actually look like a guy I went out with one time, and I was like, oh, is that David? Oh no, that's Victor. Okay. You would have been David, I would have been nervous, because I would have been like, dude.
Don't be nervous. You're fine.
I was like, I blocked you a long time ago.
How did I get here?
Yeah. So, okay. So now I'm going to move on to team resolution. I think we have 2 people, and I don't know, who is that, Gina?
Carolyn, what group am I in?
I have no idea.
I'm the
You're
first
in
one.
research, I think, aren't you?
Right. I am. I'm the first one that's signed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
you're
just signed up.
Team research.
All right, so I have Beta and Barbara.
Okay. Barbara, you're on team research
I am.
or resolution?
For resolution, no. For writing, yes.
Yeah, you're on, Barbara, you're on resolution, right?
Yes.
Who was in team research, Gina?
Right now I have, is it Mari?
Yep.
Oh, Marty.
Yep. So it's going to be Mari and Kimberly. And then Victor, you're in team resolution, and who else?
David.
Stop it.
And I'm in research, Melissa Slater. I signed up.
For research?
Yeah.
Melissa?
Yeah.
Melissa Slater, Slater.
Okay. For some reason, it didn't show up, right, Gina?
I'm not seeing that on the responses database, but I can go into the forms. I'm not sure why it wouldn't have
Yeah, you
updated.
should be looking on the spreadsheet for the
Yep.
form.
I'm on the spreadsheet. Let me see if it just hasn't transferred from the form.
Okay, so Melissa, we may have to have you do it. Mari was on there and Kimberly wasn't on there. So Melissa and Kimberly needs to, when we send the email tomorrow, make sure you go and sign up on that Google form. It's real easy. You just go in and put your name and pick that box.
Okay.
So Victor's on team resolution. The other person, Gina and I are on that team, and also Heather Leathers from Global Fund for Widows. The resolutions is a little bit harder because we already kind of have an idea of what we want to do, and the list is pretty extensive. I mean, I can just tell you right now, like here's my short list, but we're talking about bereavement leave, we're talking about Medicare and healthcare changes, we're talking about legal aid for widows. We're talking about extending the qualifying widow status longer than 2 years. We're talking about education grants and higher education for our college kids. We're talking about pension protection laws, child care grants for younger widows. We're looking for a National Widows Week of Awareness for both widowers and widows. We're looking at increasing the death lump sum that's given to widows, $255. We've already kind of started talking about that, and we threw out a $1,500 amount that would be something we would be willing to start at. Some kind of ability to have some kind of financial advising for widows. I don't know. I found out today, holy crap, you guys, guess what I found out today? Someone I work with, they told me that their cousin died and is having their funeral tomorrow, and he was working for FedEx, and he's 35 years old, and FedEx pays your salary for 3 years post loss. Did you guys know that?
Wow. Wow.
Is
Who
that
loves
if you die
FedEx right now?
Now, is that if you die during work?
Yeah, I did die on the
He
job.
didn't die during work. He's a diabetic. He died from from type 1 diabetes and an inability for his body to regulate insulin. He did not die on the job. So anyway, I'm going to learn more about that on Friday because he's finding out more when he goes to the memorial service. But I was blown away. They notified his wife already for her not to worry that his base salary is going to be paid up to 3 years, and that's their corporate policy. I was blown away. So I hope that's true because I've never heard of that before. Yes, we want more people doing that. I found out that there's agricultural trade policies that are not in favor. If widows create products and they can't get it into the US because of the tariffs or taxes or anything, I would like, for a special consideration made for specific widows around the world who have products that they need to sell that ends up being their livelihood. There's just a lot. Basically, here's what I realized. If we're going to ask for everything that we can dream of, and what I call widow utopia. Like when a widow becomes widowed, what would be the best case scenario? I'm tired of talking about the worst case scenario because we know what that is. And there's a whole nother level of worst case scenario, which is what's happening to widows that aren't born in the United States and aren't exposed to something like a Modern Widows Club, right? So so this is just a few of the things on our resolution list, and a lot of these kind of are a mirror image of what that Heather wants internationally, because it starts here and then we change things here and then it moves out, because all of these people on the high level of leadership and government, they all talk to each other. Everybody at the United Nations, whoever's like in charge of your country, they all talk to each other. So if we get a widow policy changes here, we know that then they're going to start looking, because it'll be news and they'll start understanding that, hey, oh my gosh, we have widows in our country and maybe we should do something like that. So here is where it starts. So the work that we're doing here is actually really important. It's like the beginning of the traction to get to the solution, which are I think are very feasible. Some of these, they've just never been presented. We know that we have presented some of these ideas like the bereavement to the assistant administrator of the Administration of Children and Families, and they were very interested in hearing more. And so this is part of why we want to create these kind of very specific, and I think we'll always be kind of adding to it, but it's, bereavement leave should be the first thing that should be changed. And that's why we bring in medical experts and go, why does someone who has a baby who is incurring 39 stress points get 12 weeks of job security and healthcare when someone who loses a spouse is incurring 100 stress points and they get 3 days? Thank you. I don't think so. It's because no one's brought it up. And so that's what we're going to be fighting for. And all the people on the research list, that's who we're going to be dropping this information to. Hey, do you want to get on board? Do you want to help us fight with this? Does any of this interest you? We're going to keep narrowing it down to find the real true advocates. And those are going to be the people that are going to end up being a part of, we believe, a widow caucus. Now, we already have an edge up because we already have a DC law firm that has already taken us on as a pro bono client. So we are super excited, and that has what has happened since we last talked. And Gina and I are very happy, and it was referred to us by one of our leaders, our widow leaders in New Hampshire. So it's her brother-in-law, and he was like, we're at your service. We're going to start, they're already starting to talk to lobbyist groups, and they're trying to find out, is anybody else doing anything for widows? If not, why? Who would be interested? So they're in DC right now doing the vetting for that. So it's great. Great progress in that area. But so team resolution is we're going to split off and have meetings. And so then the last part is team activate. Now, who's on that, Gina? I think it was only one person. So we found out that the best place, of course, to create a petition is on change.org. Does anybody here have any experience on doing change.org?
No.
Does anybody want to research it and see what's required to be on there? I have done it before. Actually, I think I have one in there already. But we just need somebody to go and research change.org and just kind of figure out what the parameters are. And there's no money exchange. I don't know. I don't know if it costs money to start one or so.
Carolyn,
Huh?
Maudie, I can research that. I
Okay.
voted on a few change.org petitions.
Okay,
So I can research that.
All right. So if you can do that. Now, the email, we have do we want to have a general advocacy? We have an advocacy at modernwidowsclub.org, right, Gina? So when you're sending in information, send it to advocacy@modernwidowsclub.org. And then what happens from there is it'll get sent to either Pamela or group to me and Gina if we need to make some decisions on answer some of the questions, and then Pamela will be the person who'll get back with you. So I'm really sorry she couldn't be on this call. So
Do you have a timeline? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a timeline as to when do you want this information by?
I would probably say the next call, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, sounds good.
2 weeks. So you can see the team research, it's a lot of upfront work. Team resolution can kind of stack alongside, and we can do that. And we'll be working on that in the next, our goal is to kind of be ready. We could maybe do like change.org at the end of the year, depending on how good research we've built out that document, and also how solid we feel about the resolutions, because we will be working with this law firm on that. And so the resolutions, I would guess, are going to take the longest, because we're looking for them to tell us what they believe that we can actually realistically get. And then they're going to go out there and research and see if, you know, there's any other kind of policies or bills that exist or addendums. They're going to start doing the research on all of these bullet point items, which is pretty exciting, right?
Yeah.
But
Carolyn, do
Yeah.
you want us to have to think of our own list to add to your list, or?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. I'm
Okay.
sure if
Because I
there are
have some
certain
things.
that, you know, certain things that you think of, like, you know, for instance, you know, I think it's wrong for credit card companies to be allowed to drop women from credit cards. Like, what's that all about? Like, well,
Right.
why? You know, when you build joint credit, why are you not able to keep that credit? You know, and for some women refinancing their home, you know, I don't understand. I personally don't understand everything about all of these. This is going to be an enormous learning process, and all of us are going to have to curb our anger sometimes, because these things, you know, tend to upset people. But that's not really what we're about. We need to take a literally like, you know, whatever your political beliefs are, but, you know, RBG, we can all learn a lesson from her about how calm she was about changing things. You know, when she really came in and would really debate the reasons why women have rights equally to men as far as being human beings. You know, I watched her movie and I'm like, wow, we all need to be this way. We need to be, here's the facts and here's the situations, and, you know, bring less emotion into it, and really debate what this is about, because we don't want to get into, you know, certain political affiliation arguments or whatever. We don't want that at all. And in fact, that will ruin us if we do that. And so there were a couple people that wanted to be on these advocacy groups, and they were extremely one direction politically. And I just advised them not to be on these teams, because if you cannot keep your cool, you're going to create more damage than you're going to do good in this case scenario. Doesn't mean that your views aren't validated. It's just that in order to make progress in this area for widow advocacy, we're all going to have to be calm, cool, collected, and prepared. So that's what we're going to do. So we've got some teams already going here. One of the things that I'm going to be Victor, I think I finally know what my TED Talk is going to be about.
Oh, good.
So when I was flying to Arkansas, I was reading the World Widows Report, and all I did was read the last chapter, which was the solutions. How can we help? And so now I know that what I'm going to have to do is talk about how fortunate widows are in the United States, because we know that widows, even with the lack of stuff that we have and the what we want changed, still around the world, widows in the United States are actually the most fortunate, and the widows in MWC are doubly fortunate because they have teams that actually believe in them. And so I started documenting from the World Widows Report all the things that don't happen to widows here in the US. And I just wrote a few of them down. But this is, I think, what's going to be my TED Talk. And it's like, you know, I'm so fortunate because I became, in which, by the way, when you say I'm fortunate to be widowed, that's like already like messing with people's minds, right? Like I'm fortunate to have become widowed in the United States because I wasn't seen as bad luck in society. I wasn't held down and had my head shaved. I didn't have my kids taken away from me from my husband's family. I wasn't legally raped, which otherwise known as cleansing, by my brother-in-law or another male in my community. I wasn't forced to marry an older man who would physically and mentally abuse me. I didn't have to drink the water in which my husband's corpse was washed in. My daughter wasn't sold to human trafficking. And I wasn't left to starve on the streets that I lived on. And so I list all of these things that, you know, like my human rights were not violated and I was protected. And my church didn't reject me. The women in the church didn't reject me just because the status of my marital status changed. And I didn't have to experience an irreversible descent into poverty. I'm a lucky, fortunate widow because I was born in the United States.
You've got more than half your slides done.
I know.
That's powerful,
Yes.
Marilyn.
So it's like you have to do this jaw dropper, right? Because no one knows what's happening, okay? And because then you come in and go, you know, I was fortunate because I got 3 days off of paid work leave.
This is a great idea.
Then you go into I'm so fortunate because I got this little bit of nothing. But it's better than this other stuff, right?
Right. Send me those. Take a picture of those notes and send those to me. Okay. I'm going to get those on slides already.
Okay. So I think that this is there's, you know, the advocacy plea is causes and consequences. The cause of all of this has consequences, okay? And with the everything that we do, right, is going to start reversing these consequences. And they're going to start looking different. When we protect widows, the consequences are something different. Human trafficking starts decreasing. You know, let's just look at the real consequences. There are real consequences when we neglect widows worldwide, not just here, but around the world. When you start empowering widows here in this country, these women, we are a society where we're not putting up with this, right? Well, we need to extend that out to our wishers and go, guess what? We're standing with you and we're not going to stand for this either. And we're going to do things like go on TED and we're going to go and talk to law firms and politicians. And we're going to say, come on, did you not know this was, you know, I didn't know this was happening either, but hey, I found out it's happening and now I'm sharing with you and you get to do what you want now with the information. That's up to you, not me. And so that, I know, Victor, you're so happy to hear that because we've been rejected by TED. We've been rejected by TED many times in the past, but I think I'm ready.
I think you're right.
So the starting point in the World Widows Report is we have to work on things on a macro level and we have to work on things on a micro level, right? So on a micro level, we have to do all these things that we're doing right here. On a micro level, we're doing all of this that we're doing. On a macro level, we have to start getting involved in every social and economic debate everywhere. We have to interject our information that we are starting to collect about widows, and we want widows to be, you know, mentioned into those debates. And I'm notorious for this. Like I'm on social media, I'm on Twitter, I'm always like, well, what about widows? You know, blah, blah, blah. And once we create an army of people who understand, and should I show them the impact report? Gina?
Yes. Oh.
I want to show you guys, you guys will be the first people to see this. This is our impact report that we've been working on for months. But before I do that, I want to tell you, like the starting point, and Victor, you'll love this because, you know, you can do this big TED talk and you can talk about all this, but when it really comes down to it, it's like, what can I do? What can I do? I'm just one person. here's what you do. Number one, widows, first of all, need to be seen as women and human beings. That's the number one thing we want people to understand. Okay. And then the second thing is that a woman's worth should not be dependent on the changes that have occurred in her relationship. Number two, those are the two things right there. That's where we're going to start. And this is the basis of why we're doing everything that we're doing, because what I mentioned to you, all those things, I'm fortunate because all of those things, those are all human rights violations. Bottom line. Okay.
Yeah.
So widows are human beings. These are violations. And that's kind of be it. So we have a new tool. Let me see if I can find it. Where's it at? Find it. Hold on a second. We have a new tool. Let me get rid of those.
And just to clarify, this is our draft version. So
Yeah, this is our draft version, and we would appreciate it if no one takes any screenshots of this or copies anything, because it's not complete. It's still under production, but you're getting to see our this is called an impact report. So this is the first copy. Basically, it's our mission. We serve to empower women. Here we get back to that point that widows are women and human beings. We empower women in widowhood to lean into life, build resilience, and make a difference in society. The second one is the issue is the most stressful life event is losing a spouse. In the United States, 2,800 women become widows every day. Widows face a statistically greater risk of illness due to this stress, in addition to the secondary impacts of widowhood, which can impact finances, households, and children. There are not enough resources available to help widows navigate this life change, even though 70% of women will face widowhood in their lifetime. And here's our graphic. It says there's very little research on widows under the age of 65. They are notoriously invisible in social services and policies. The urgency for funding to keep Modern Widows Club operational is immediate. So widowhood is more common than you think. Here's the crushing effects of losing a spouse. What we did is we took the 100 stress points and we added on some of the typical things that happen to women, whether it's losing your job, fired from your job, a major change in financial status, taking on a mortgage, major change in your living condition, major change in social activities, major change in sleeping habits, and major eating habit changes. This is sort of typical about what happens. And so we wanted people to understand that if you scored an average widow, that's 290 life stress points. And so when you get to 300 stress points, you have an 80% chance of getting a serious illness. So widowhood is an all-front attack on women's health. And we know that when we start looking at this type of information, but we stacked it like this so people could really see the weight of what this experience is. Next, who are widows? Now, this is research that we've compiled. Some of it's we've compiled, and some of it is the 2011 U.S. Census Bureau. 70% of all women will face widowhood. 58% from our surveys experienced that as sudden loss. So there was no warning. Age in which widowhood occurred, you guys, 76% of the widows in our organization are under 59. And 59 is the average age of a widow in the US. Does that shock you?
Wow.
Okay. You know what's crazy? In the global South, the average age is 39. Think about that. But we're the fortunate ones, right? Our average age is 59. So we got 20 years on the global South. So we have extra time to advocate. So challenges that the widows face. even years after loss. This is all our own personal data. When we had the Widow Empowerment event, we sent out a really great survey, and this was the result of that. You can see 91% of people experienced brain fog. 44% of those reported it lasted longer than 2 years. 33% were diagnosed with a new mental or physical health issue within a year. Of course they did, because widowhood is an all-front attack on women's health. Household, 69% felt forced to make decisions they were not prepared to within the first 2 years. 48% had children living at home at the time of loss. 49% of those children reported their education was negatively impacted. 17% of widows currently care for senior family members. Employment, let's see, working outside the home when the widowhood occurred. 33% said no, 67% said yes. You know, this is 75% of people said that their brain fog impacted them at work. You know, this is important data, because when we go and start talking about bereavement leave and do you really want someone to come back after 3 days, when our research shows that 75% of the people coming that said that they worked outside the home are experiencing brain fog. This is not going to be a good turnout for you. And this typically will end up being unemployment for the widow, and she blames herself. And that's just widowhood. That's the effects of widowhood.
Can I add something real quick, Carolyn? I'm sorry to interrupt. And this is something I'll submit to the advocacy email, but I know here in Arizona, if you make X amount of money, your social security status or benefits start to decrease.
Yes.
Diminish. So I think since we're talking about also the 250 lump sum that you get as a widow, also probably looking at the cap of how much you can make before
right.
your security status starts to impact, you know.
That's right. Right. It's forcing women to stay in near poverty.
Yeah.
Is basically what that's doing. And it's a system to fail. So if you can write that down for us and send that to us, because we know that needs to be, and we're going to have to, somebody's going to have to research state to state. We know that I think Oregon is the only one that has statewide bereavement leave longer than 3 days. I think it was. Who told me that? Did you tell me that, Jen?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So who knew? And this is the problem. Like we have to untangle this web, and then we have to present it, because if we go, hey, Oregon's only one, how come all the other states don't have it? Well, okay, well, let's go, and we have this team research list. So let's go and email all these other people and create some ruckus, right? We're like, how come your state doesn't have any? You know, and start, that's what teams like ours do. We start the questioning and the curiosity of why something is not in favor of widows. So legal, 44% sought out legal help. Spiritual community, 70% had a place of worship, but only 49% of those widows felt like 49% felt like the support was insufficient. So, you know, we're talking about social systems, government systems, and religious systems here, and health and medical systems. So we have to kind of attack every area, because because that's just the way it is. So action. Modern Widows Club addresses the needs of widows through mentoring, education, awareness, and advocacy. All of you guys. Widows can find needed support through local chapters, virtual chapters, and online resources and national events dedicated to improving widows' lives. This year, Modern Widows Club has already served 4,479 ladies through our programs. And we're just in September. So we don't know, that's almost double than who we served last year. So we know that the need is great, and we're addressing that need. Our approach, Modern Widows Club provides ongoing service and life support to transform grief into reconciliation through a community of Wisters who offer social support and act as role models and champions, AKA you guys on advocacy. free services that would usually end within 2 years. So our goal is to take a very chaotic situation, bring in a community and education and resources, and she ends up being empowered to thrive. Here's the women we serve. We have distributed, is this an older one, Gina? I think we moved this number. This year alone, we've given away $74,249 distributed to financial support to 375 widows just in the first 9 months. We launched the Love for Widows campaign. But this just kind of gives the person who's seeing this document an idea that this is probably not what you think when you see widows, but this is the reality, not the myth. This is us in a big O nutshell. 6 years of growth since our first conference. And it goes all the way back to 2014. The timeline just goes from 2014 to now, and everything above the timeline is all of our events, and the bubbles represent how many people came to those events. The markers down below are accomplishments that we're adding more. Like I said, this is a draft where we're already adding more. But it kind of shows all the pivotal moments and how much hustle and how much work it has taken in order to get us to where we are now. This is where we exist now, and we're expanding actually into international affiliates. We're launching chapters in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Israel, and I know there's one more and I can't remember it.
India.
Where? India. Okay, India, there it is. And we're gonna get an international map, but this is where we started in Florida, right down here, and then we've expanded to all of these. See, Oregon's not on there. Look at Oregon, it's so alone. We need to get on.
Well, I thought there was somebody from like Lake Oswego or the West Side that was doing that. Who was the woman in Seattle that runs the one in Seattle? She came down.
Okay, it was probably Cindy.
Yeah.
Who's probably trying to get one started. We have to find leaders. It's all about the leaders.
Yeah, well, she met with somebody. She asked me to meet with her.
Well,
we were supposed to both meet with her and I couldn't make it.
Oh, okay, cool.
So she met with somebody. That was several months ago. That was like before the pandemic.
Okay, all right. So this next slide is just really about our outreach on the global level. Our Healthy Widow, Healthy Woman, surprisingly, it's been downloaded 5,804 times. And it seems like people internationally are really picking up on it because evidently podcasts are very popular around the world where they can just listen in, where they don't have to have data strong enough to watch a video. So that's how our Jerusalem, Israel leader found us, probably Nigeria. She's probably been following us on social media, but we never know. But we know that the real widows are reaching out to us through that podcast. So that was a great addition for us to kind of expand around the world. The work that we're doing in Africa, we have sponsored a sewing sustainability opportunity through the Rona Foundation. That was, just it kind of started as a collaboration with me mentoring Rosalind, 8 years ago. And then the Love for Widows pandemic, the Love for Widows Benevolent Fund was created basically out of the pandemic. The pandemic has taught us a lot of things. Impact. Since its founding in 2011, Model Widows Club has touched the lives of countless women with 34 community chapters around the country. MWC is expanding internationally into 2020 with efforts in Kenya, Costa Rica, Israel, Nigeria, India, and 2 virtual chapters to offer global access. More than 43,000 social media followers utilize MWC resources, and a free virtual library of blogs provided nearly a decade's worth of content related to the 7 pillars of healthy widowhood from our website. So these are a few of our Worcester stories, just talking about basically our ladies that have really, and then the last one is the financial. We raised more money last year than we ever have. We started out making 40,000, then 80,000, then 120,000, went down to 74, and then last year we raised $780,000. What matters here for funders is how much that you're actually spending on staff versus programs. This is the reason, this is when foundations start really caring about you, and you give a higher percentage amount to the program than you do to actually paying people. And because most foundations don't want to pay people to run a nonprofit. That's just the way that works. So there you go. What do you think?
Awesome.
And we are adding in a slide regarding future that will finish the report off. So some of the things in there will be addressing the fact that COVID is a widowmaker. It is killing more men than women. Some of our strategic efforts, including a minimum of 10% annual community and virtual growth, developing online self-instructed education courses, providing additional webinars and events, prioritizing the unknown needs of women widowed during the pandemic, with special attention to those raising children, caring for the elderly and essential workers. We are obviously striving to create additional research on widows' physical and mental health. Some of the things we're looking at are just even things that how it affects your lab work, how it affects alopecia and hair loss. Yeah. Also, the continuing to mentor in our resiliency education efforts, creating resources for worldwide widow-owned businesses, additional tools to find initial grief support because we're not focused on grief support, and continuing to advocate obviously on change locally, nationally, and internationally, as well as strengthening our collaborations with organizations such as the Global Fund for Widows and the Rona Foundation. So we are definitely trying to change what has historically been the most underserved demographic of women.
And then this week, I'm actually meeting with a university that wants to help us create a Center for Widowhood Studies.
They do want to do what?
To create a Center for Widowhood Studies.
Oh, nice. Where's this at?
In Arkansas.
At what university?
I'm not able to tell anyone yet.
Oh, okay. But it's in Arkansas. Okay.
So it's this has been in talks for probably 7 months. It's because widows are not researched. We need someone to utilize their tools to help us, to bring in their social workers, to bring in their health services students, to bring in all their students, and to help us and to change the next generation so that we're not here 20 years from now not serving widows, because this is the end of widows not being served. We're going to change this generation, and we're going to change the next generation, and then it's going to be eliminated after this. From in my daughter's age, when they become widowed, I want it to be a completely different experience than anything we experienced. And just like, Gina just sent me this thing, and she said, did you know that that RBG, she's the one that gave widowers equal rights. What was it, Gina? Equal rights for pay for caring for children. Yeah. So that's, that's all we're asking for is equal treatment. So if if you're getting 12 weeks of a protected job for having a baby, and that's 39 points, and we think it's fair to ask for someone going through 100 stress points to be given 12 weeks as well, so that their job is protected, and doesn't mean that they're not going to have brain fog, but it is we need to respect the loss experience as a part of life, and treat people who are left behind with more respect. That's what we really hope to happen here. So that's really all I have. I know it's been an hour already, but we just wanted to kind of present to you what we've kind of done up to this point and make sure that everybody signs up and for a committee, for a team. And then what's going to happen next is I'm going to get a meeting with Pamela when she returns, and we're going to start setting up meetings for team research, team resolution, and team activate, and just kind of start and create a plan and figure out what the end goal is and what we think it realistically will take to get those goals accomplished, and just kind of piece it out, because it really just depends on you know, how much time we can all put into this. And Gina and I work for Modern Widows Club. We're only allowed to put in 5% of our time towards advocacy. And so a big part of what we do is meetings, to try to get meetings that will get the work done. And it's just the way the nonprofit world works. It's the way we're classified as a nonprofit. So who's counting though? Like, who even, like, how can you say oh no, I'm at 6%, I'm over, you know, like, it's just a weird world. Nonprofit is
tracking everyone's time.
So anyway, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer it. But I just wanted to kind of give you kind of the next steps, and it's kind of, don't be upset. It's kind of a slow process. We're very used to this, but you know, it's kind of like we want a concerted effort of what each team is doing, so that we can make sure that when it comes time to have the resolutions completed, then we know who we're going to reach out to, and then we can actually put that content on a petition, and we can let people know what we're wanting them to sign. So it all works together, but it's eventually we'll start seeing some really good results, because we'll get people interested, and that'll be exciting to talk about at these meetings, and that's the reward.
What could you describe the Activate team a little bit in detail?
Well, the Activate team really is about it's about creating the change.org and then managing that, because managing it is kind of like managing a website a little bit, in a way, because you'll have to send it out. You'll try to get it spread around, exposed on LinkedIn and Facebook and social sites. And you'll be working with our social media coordinator, Sunshine, because you know, we'll put the petition on a calendar, so it can be pushed out to all of our 43,000 in our social media sites. But just to kind of work with Sunshine on what the schedule would be, because we don't want to bombard people and say, sign this petition. You know, you have to do it, and you have to craft how to do the ask, and you have to write a little, like, few sentences. And so it's really about just encouraging people to do it and explaining to them why it's important. And so you're really kind of managing that whole petition project. We're told that you need to have about 30,000 signatures before anyone gives a damn about you. That's what we're told. And I don't know where you get 30,000 signatures, but you have to make it compelling enough that they say, yeah, man, my grandma's a widow, or my sister's a widow, I'm going to sign that petition. I don't know what the magic formula is for someone to do that, but evidently there's probably research out there on how do you create the most compelling change.org, you know, ask. I'm sure, like, if you literally put that in Google, there probably would be like 15 blogs on it. I'm just guessing. But that's kind of what happens. You know, you have to go and research, and you have to craft a plan of how you think you might get like 30,000 signatures, because I actually don't have the answer to that. I've never done a petition before, but we're going to learn. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Carolyn, remember the resolution issue we talked about last time?
Which one?
Somebody was going to provide examples.
Heather sent us her international ones, and we're going to share those with the team resolution.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they've already sent them to us.
Okay, that's what I wanted to happen.
Okay, good.
And
Yep.
then the other thing is, can you send me a copy of that laundry list that you read off?
Yeah, I'll
Because-
send you the pictures. Oh, of the resolutions?
No, of the bullet points you read out.
The
that
TED
need to-
Talk?
For the TED Talk.
Yeah.
Well, no, not even that one. That one I want, yes.
Oh,
But the other one is the list you were reading for inclusion in my letter. The kitchen sink, remember? All those issues you were reading?
Oh, yeah, you mean the ones I read
Yes,
on this call? Yeah, I'll send those to you.
okay. Then I can incorporate that in the draft letter. It's
Okay,
already
perfect.
done.
Yeah, and they're kind of drafty right now because now that we have this law firm, which, you know, it's just so amazing that this law firm is taking us on pro bono because we didn't know where to go to get that, and it just showed
Right.
up. It just showed up with Stacy saying, "Hey, my brother-in-law's, you know, has a big law firm in DC, and hey, let's present and see if he wants to do it." And it makes me happy because it's actually been 4 years, and so I don't like approaching people when they're still in those 2 years, whether that's a widow or even a family. I don't like asking people to come and advocate or do something to, you know, be a part of the solution that this is. I want them to grieve. And so it was absolutely perfect time for Stacy to approach her brother-in-law. And he was just like, we're all in. We're all in.
Okay.
And it's going to be a huge, so we want to kind of, I know you're doing the ask, but I think what we have to do is we have to kind of create the list of resolutions first, and then we want to get it into their hands, and we're going to set up another meeting, and you can be a part of that and just say, okay, let's do a hierarchy here. Like, what's the thing we think we can get the most, right? And then we'll just go, number one is this. We think this is doable. And then far off, you know, is going to be like down here, number 12. So
Sure.
we want to be realistic about what we really, but yes, we're going to ask for all these things, but some are more realistic than others. Obviously, Social Security is never going to change. I've talked to too many senators and politicians about this. It's a hot mess anyway. It's like, oh, help us repair the hot mess. I mean, it's just not, it's not going to happen. This is more than what we can do in a lifetime.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we can't come up with ideas and provide hope. And the other thing we are searching for is a 501c4. So they are more designed, and they're actually exist to do advocacy and awareness efforts. And so we are searching for a 501c4 that we can partner with, and the attorneys are helping us look for that as well. But if anyone has any ideas, and just
because they're politically driven and lobbyists, and that's what they do. Like their nonprofit actually helps organizations like ours push stuff like this through.
Oh, okay.
So partnering with them would clear us, because we're not allowed to supposedly do more than 5% of advocacy.
So Carolyn, do you want us to send our ideas to you so that you can compile them? How do you want that for the resolution?
Send them to the advocacy@modernwidowsclub.org.
Okay.
and it's okay if you send 10 emails. I know sometimes you'll get one idea and then you have another 5 that are great. So don't hesitate on sending emails. We
Okay.
everyone.
That's the bucket that all those emails are going to go in. And then Gina opens those up, and then more than likely Gina opens up a document, because Gina is the document queen. He's like, oh, and it goes under this category. And I'm like, okay, where can I find that document? Gina's like, oh, that's over here, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm the creative visionary, and Gina's over there going, yeah, but where does it belong? Like what category does it go under? Okay, I don't know. Let's decide on that. So we work well together because it's like yin and yang. But that's okay. That's okay. We all ideas are welcome, and that's how you get to a list that's usable. And so we want all of that. We can't think of everything, and a lot of times you guys have ideas that have been personally impacted you, and so we want all of those on here.
Okay.
But thank you so much, everybody, for all your time and willingness to come and change the world.
Yeah.
So we'll get an email tomorrow from someone about all of this.
So you'll get an email tomorrow with signing up for the list and just kind of a follow-up of what's going to happen. And I'm going to introduce Pamela, since she didn't get to be on the call. So just look for an email either tomorrow or the next day, depending on when we can get it done.
Okay, and that'll include the confidentiality statement.
Yes.
Okay. All right, ladies, I'm gonna go, or excuse me. Sorry, Victor. I'm gonna go. I gotta walk the dog.
That's right.
Sorry. Ladies and Victor.